Zoo accident kills giraffe. Endangered Masai giraffe Kiko dies in tragic freak accident during habitat exploration at South Carolina Zoo. An endangered Masai giraffe born in South Carolina has died following what zoo officials are calling a devastating and highly unusual accident, casting a shadow over the start of a new world and prompting a full internal investigation. Now let's go deeper and see what's really happening in this story on the AI podcast.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are starting the year by looking at a really tough topic.
It is a difficult one.
It's the sudden, really unexpected loss of a magnificent animal. But it's a story that cuts right to the heart of conservation biology, specialized animal care, and just the sheer unpredictability of it all.
We are diving into the materials detailing the death of Kiko. He was a 13-year-old male, an endangered Masai giraffe, who passed away on New Year's Day at a South Carolina zoo.
And the immediate, just startling detail here is that this wasn't an illness or, old age.
No.
The sources all describe it as a devastating and a highly unusual accident.
A freak accident, really.
So our goal today is to pull apart the specifics of that event, connected to the unique biology of the giraffe, and then try to understand why this one singular loss is so painful for the long-term survival of the entire species.
Right. And when you synthesize all the reports, the story just shifts instantly from routine to absolute disaster. We really need to focus on how an animal this massive and under careful human supervision could suffer a fatal injury in what should have been a completely safe environment.
Okay, let's unpack this. The sources detail a scenario that was, it was just a daily procedure.
Totally standard.
Kiko, who was known for being, and I'm quoting here, true to his curious nature, was exploring an additional section of his holding area.
So this is the behind-the-scenes area, right? The night barn, some people call it.
Exactly. And this movement between spaces, it's standard practice, it's for enrichment, for management, it happens all the time.
Right. And here's the mechanism of the tragedy. While he was exploring this section, Kiko tragically became caught in an opening door.
And we're not talking about some massive, complex piece of hydraulic equipment, are we?
No, not at all. We're talking about a door being managed by staff during a routine shift, just a door.
But that brief moment of entanglement, combined with his natural reaction to it,
His panic.
it instantly escalated. The sources say it led to catastrophic injuries, even with the immediate response from his animal care team.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the unique biology of the giraffe is, well, it's the silent cofactor in this tragedy.
So explain that. How does their biology play into this?
Well, think about Kiko's structure. You have this massive body connected to a very long 6-foot neck.
Incredible.
That neck supports a relatively delicate head, and it allows for an incredible range of motion up, down, forward, side to side. It's essential for how they eat and defend themselves in the wild.
But that same anatomy.
But that same anatomy dramatically increases the risk of severe injury in moments of panic.
Yeah.
When a giraffe startles or thrashes, the sheer leverage created by that long neck, combined with the momentum of its head, it means a minor physical snag can immediately result in massive trauma to the head, the neck, or the spine.
Wow. It's so hard to imagine something so massive also being so fragile. So, the zoo is essentially stating that the physics of panic, acting on that specific anatomy, created a deadly synthesis that even the quickest staff response couldn't possibly overcome.
That's precisely the synthesized point. What might cause, a bruise or a scratch for another species was fatal for Kiko, purely because of that inherent vulnerability in their specialized design.
Now, let's talk about the specific conditions leading up to this, because it wasn't just a normal day. Kiko was already receiving specialized care.
Right, he had a pre-existing condition.
He was dealing with a hoof and foot injury, which meant his daily routine was already very carefully managed inside that giraffe house.
So he was already under close observation.
Yes, and the zoo really stressed that these shifting routines, moving between spaces, are standard procedures that staff perform, get this, thousands of times without incident.
Thousands of times.
You can just feel the weight of this tragedy on the staff when they say this loss is impacting Kiko's wildlife care team particularly hard. These are the very people dedicated to his recovery and safety.
And that just raises an important question. If it's such a standard routine, how does it fail so spectacularly?
Right.
The zoo, as you'd expect from an accredited institution, immediately triggered a comprehensive, two-pronged investigative response.
So what does that involve?
Well, what's fascinating here is the seriousness of it. First, they conducted a full post-mortem examination, a necropsy, at the University of Guelph.
Okay, so they're looking at the biology, the cause of death.
Exactly. And second, their internal health and safety services team launched a formal safety review into the procedure itself. So they're not just looking at the animal, they are examining the facility design, the staff procedure, and how a single door became the focal point of a tragedy.
And the commitment here isn't just for them, right? It's not just internal learning.
No, absolutely not. The zoo committed to sharing the findings once the full investigation has concluded, and the goal is to prevent recurrence anywhere.
That feels really important.
That commitment to institutional learning is essential. Accredited zoos, they operate under a mandate to not just maintain their own safety standards, but to share those findings globally with the whole Association of Zoos and Aquariums, the AZA community.
So the goal is to make sure this specific, unbelievably unusual convergence of factors never happens at another facility.
Well, that's the hope, that's the mission.
And that sets the stage for the next crucial layer of this story. Because the accident itself is devastating. But Kiko was more than just an individual animal, wasn't he? We have to talk about what his loss actually means for the species.
Exactly. I mean, when we talk about individual animals in managed care, you have to recognize them as strategic genetic components.
What does that mean exactly?
Kiko is part of the AZA's Masai Giraffe Species Survival Plan, or SSP. Think of it as a global insurance policy, one designed to maintain genetic diversity for the species outside of the wild.
So let's look at his specific biography, because it really highlights his importance here. He was born in 2012 at the Greenville Inn. He was the first giraffe ever born at that facility.
A very important birth.
And his transfer to Toronto wasn't random. It was a deliberate, strategic move by the SSP to pair him with a female named Mastari.
And that partnership was highly successful.
Incredibly. He sired 2 calves already, and critically, a 3rd calf is actually expected in early 2026.
Wow.
Which means Kiko's legacy lives on immediately through his offspring. It's a fact that both, it softens the blow a little, but it also underscores the immediacy of his contribution.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is precisely why the loss of one successful breeding male is so acutely felt. The Masai giraffe is one of the most threatened subspecies out there.
What do the numbers look like?
The data we have shows its population has just plummeted by nearly 50% over the past 3 decades.
50%. That's catastrophic.
It is, and because of that catastrophic decline driven primarily by habitat loss and poaching, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the IUCN, officially listed the Masai giraffe as endangered in 2018.
How many are even left?
It's believed to be just over 43,000 in the wild today. That's it.
So when we talk about population management, losing Kiko isn't just losing an animal ambassador that people love to see.
Not at all.
It's the loss of a specific genetic blueprint that the SSP works tirelessly to protect.
That is the key insight. Every individual in a managed breeding program represents a vital genetic link. And in a small, carefully managed population like this, losing a male who has already proven he can successfully reproduce, well, that specific bloodline is suddenly cut off. It creates significant challenges for future pairing decisions within the SSP. He was essential to their long-term survival strategy.
Now, shifting to the public reaction.
Yeah.
The sources show this intense, really complex relationship people have with zoos and conservation. There was immediate sorrow, of course. But what's more important, I think, is the immediate push for institutional accountability and for global learning.
Right. It wasn't just, this is sad. It was, what happens now?
Exactly. The public response quickly moved past expressions of grief to demands like, and this is general sentiment from the comments, whatever lessons are learned, I hope they are shared with every zoo around the world to prevent this from ever happening again.
And that response really demonstrates the critical thinking component of the conservation-aware public today. They're acknowledging the tragedy, but they're focusing on the mechanism of safety.
And what's interesting is that while there were these critical questions about the routine, there were also a lot of calls for compassion toward the animal care staff.
You saw that too, statements emphasizing how difficult the job is, how dedicated these keepers are.
Yeah, a sense that people understood this wasn't an act of negligence, but a tragic accident.
And this kind of intense public scrutiny, it actually ensures the institutional commitment remains high. Zoos are constantly operating under a magnifying glass, which reinforces their duty to learn profoundly from any incident, however rare, and to maintain the absolute highest standards in their conservation, research, and breeding programs.
It puts pressure on them to prioritize animal welfare and safety above all else.
It has to be number one.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The most important nuggets of knowledge here are really that tragic convergence of factors. The curiosity of an endangered animal,
Doing a totally natural thing.
a standard daily procedure, and the unique, sudden biological vulnerability imposed by a giraffe's head and neck anatomy during a panic event.
Right. And the immediate focus for the zoo staff now is, understandably, on supporting the female giraffe, Mistari, as she enters the final stages of her pregnancy.
All their care and attention must be on her now.
All of it. They're directing all their efforts to the health of the remaining animals, knowing that Kiko's legacy, well, it will be visible very soon.
He's being remembered for his massive contribution to the species survival plan. And that expected birth in early 2026 is his final, tangible contribution to the survival of one of the world's most endangered giraffe subspecies.
And that really leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. Given the intense scrutiny this accident has brought to something as seemingly simple as a single door and a brief moment of exploration, an accident that proved fatal due to that specialized anatomy,
Yeah.
how should modern conservation zoos balance the need for habitat enrichment, which encourages these natural behaviors like curiosity and exploration, against the inherent and maybe unavoidable safety risks these massive yet uniquely fragile animals face in non-wild environments?
Okay, one question for you. What should zoos do to reassure the public after the death of a high-profile endangered animal? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.